In a remote school, a teacher discovered that the real foundation of education was not books nor teachers, but something far more mundane, a pair of shoes. Hello, friends. You're listening to The School Principal, Part 7, written by Jalal Al-e Ahmad.
When the rain started, I ordered the stoves to be lit from 7 in the morning. According to regulations, we were supposed to start on the 15th of Azar, and from 8 o'clock. We started 10 days early, anyway. We got the coal and firewood by any means necessary, and the stoves were set up the evening before. The kids' plentiful scrap paper from their homework was also there. All it needed was one match. The kids always came early, even on rainy days. It was as if the sun had chased them out of the house first thing, or as if they hadn't eaten lunch. I didn't know what it was about the school that attracted the kids with such excitement. Whatever it was, it certainly wasn't culture. It certainly wasn't because of their teachers and lessons, or the principal and disciplinarian with their haughty responses to greetings. I tried very hard to be at school earlier than the kids one day, but in the end, I never managed to inhale the school empty of the kids' learned breath. Sometimes my work dragged on until noon, and I'd set off at 1 in the afternoon. The school was so crowded you'd think it was recess time. They always came early. When they arrived, they would gather around the stoves and dry their canvas shoes. A number of them also stayed for lunch, and I very quickly understood that staying at school at noon was a matter of shoes. Whoever had, didn't stay. This rule applied to the teachers as well. They were at least a shoe polish ahead. The foothills rain wasn't a 1 or 2 hour affair, and the alleys leading from the asphalt street to the school were dirt. The kids' comings and goings had turned them into a patch of path that led the sheepfold to the side of the ditch, which was constantly muddy, waterlogged, and swampy. And worse was the schoolyard. Play and running had ceased. The school was silent and dead. No one had forbidden it. Here, too, it was the matter of shoes. I had read a lot of nonsense before about how the foundation of a child's education is this or that thing. The teacher, or the blackboard eraser, or tidy restrooms, or 1,000 other things. But here, in a very simple and primitive way, the foundation of culture was shoes. Canvas shoes got heavy in water, and if you walked fast, they'd get stuck in the mud and come off your feet.
Apart from beet-stained hands and wet clothes, by the time they reached school, the eyes of most were red. It was obvious that once again, that morning, they'd had a bout of crying and there had been a scene at their homes. The fathers were mostly water bearers and gardeners and presumably all good-natured and family men. This wasn't about pity or philanthropy. The school was being ruined. The number of morning absences had increased tenfold, and no teacher could teach during the first period. Their swollen, frost-bitten hands wouldn't work. The disciplinarian had even broken his canes. Even our first-grade teacher knew that the culture and knowledge in our schools were purely dependent on practice. Homework and practice. 10 times and 20 times. A frozen hand cannot wield a shovel and a plane, which are very coarse anyway, and make a living. So, we started thinking. The new janitor was bolder than all of us. One day we were in a sort of council room. Of course, he was there too. He had gradually imposed himself. He fed on the youth and gullibility of the teachers. He said he was prepared to compel one of the tough guys in the school's neighborhood to send us sand, on the condition that we also go and ask the local association for shoes and clothes for the kids. The third-grade teacher exploded like a firecracker. "What kind of beggary is this? It's beneath the school's dignity, and approaching such tempting assemblies is..." And such talk, and probably, if the assembly had been ready, he would have read something about the revolution falling behind. But the assembly wasn't ready, so there was no need for my intervention, and I accepted the proposal. But neither I nor any of the teachers had heard of this local association until then. It was decided he would follow up on the matter himself, find out where their meeting was next week, and even get them to send us some sort of invitation. 2 days later, 3 trucks of sand arrived. We unloaded 2 in the yard and the 3rd at the school gate, and the kids themselves spread it out in half an hour. With their feet, shovels, planks, and whatever they could get their hands on. A father of one of the students had sent it. We were obliged to give him a cheer during assembly. And that very evening, the guy himself came and invited us to go to such and such a house on such and such day and time to get acquainted with the association members. I, myself, and the disciplinarian had to go. We took the fourth grade teacher with us too, though there was a fear they might mistake him for the principal. But he was good for numbers, talked pompously, and was the honor of the teaching corps. It was a house that was the meeting place for the association that night, just like the school, remote and lonely, its four walls rising straight from the breast of the wilderness. The sun had faded when we arrived, a large iron gate, and when we entered a landscape garden with leafless trees, sand-strewn walkways, and a gazebo-like structure in the middle, numerous servants, and we went inside, entrusted our hats and coats to them, and the vestibule, staircase, and gilded plaster statues with chandeliers overhead. The muffled thump-thump of a generator came from under our feet and from within the walls. They must have had their own electricity. We were soiling the carpets and runners with our culture as we walked. It was as if they had laid 3 layers on top of each other. When the first got dirty, the second. When we reached the top, there was a hall, and we went in. A Haji Aga, with white trousers and loose slippers, was praying. When he raised his head from prostration, we saw a fistful of his beard too. The host came to welcome us with a thick Yazdi accent. I introduced my companions, and he probably figured out who the principal was. The lights were all flickering, making it easier for us cultured folk to tolerate all that merchandise. They brought tea. Very weak, in glasses with enameled silver holders. I couldn't even finish half of mine. I lit a cigarette and talked with the host about his carpets. He was a carpet merchant. The more a carpet is walked on, the better it is for export, and inevitably the talk turned to the export market. That's when Haji Aga came down from his high horse. He stood up, hitched up his trousers right in front of us, adjusted his equipment properly, and may God reward us with good and such affectations. The fourth grade teacher kept up with him, and they got deep into conversation. The disciplinarian was like a child at a grown-ups gathering who gets sleepy but doesn't want to be patted on the head. The association members were opening up. Based on the respect paid to each, you could tell what they did.
Haji Aga was the treasurer and the one who was the head of the association. I remembered his name from the headlines of newspapers from I don't know how many years ago. He was a, quote, would-be minister who had now contented himself with the yes sirs of the local association members and the sorting out of the locality's water, garbage, and electricity affairs. And he must have been very puffed up that the administrators of the local school had come to see him. It occurred to me how good it would be if all ministers were as content as him and opened their ministries at their street corners. Tall and short, old and young, about 15 people came. We kept standing up and sitting down at full height. Me and the disciplinarian were like the 2 innocent martyrs, and the fourth grade teacher sat between us like a shimmer. The association members each sat back, leaning on their wealth and their summer houses. Most spoke with provincial accents and had unsophisticated manners. Not one of them knew what to do with their arms and legs. They stared at us fixedly. Exactly like the Ministry of Livestock had imported 3 new animals for the local zoo. One of them, who was younger and wore glasses, looked exactly like a monkey trying to act human by putting on glasses. Once the meeting became official, the host introduced us, and they began. Approving the minutes of the previous meeting, the absentees, a carbon copy of the Parliament. They took it so seriously that I sometimes forgot where I was. And before anything else, they talked about a theft 2 nights ago at so-and-so's house, which was why he was absent, and how they necessarily had to request the establishment of a police station, or at least ask for night patrols. And then about the well water running low, and the power plant they were supposed to establish in partnership, and the deep well the host wanted to dig. Then the discussion started about so-and-so who had rented his house to an American, and the rent, which had brought his water, electricity, and phone bills right to his bedside without any cost or effort.
and the envious stir among the attendees, and Haji Aga's seeking forgiveness. And so they talked for a full hour, attended to important matters. Haji Aga told his prayer beads, and the one with glasses stopped even pretending to be human. The fourth grade teacher and I smoked. It was as if we weren't even there. When their servant came to collect the glasses, I wrote something on the cover of a matchbox and sent it to the host. He suddenly remembered us, asked for permission to speak, and said, "The gentlemen have something to say. Perhaps we should put our own business aside for later." As if he wanted to imply they shouldn't have said all those things in our presence. They gave permission, and the fourth grade teacher started. "Yes, according to the express desire of you gentlemen, we have come, and that whatever the case, we are also under your patronage, and you will surely agree it is not pleasant for your own children to be classmates with kids who have neither shoes nor hats, and that we are aware of your philanthropic levels, and thank you for the sand trucks." All grand and eloquent, just like a department head. He knew why we had brought him. Then the disciplinarian woke from his doze and said the things he had memorized, with "We beg for your prayers," and he messed things up so badly that only his Aman Yujib, "Oh he who answers," was left. They were nearly about to take a collection and, out of embarrassment, reach into their pockets when I lost my temper. I snapped at the disciplinarian to cut out the beggary and made it clear to them that this wasn't about a request or begging. Rather, the school is remote, education is struggling, the toilets have no doors, and so on. And it was good that I didn't get angry. The one who was acting like a guy with glasses came to my rescue. Whenever I was about to get angry, I would glance at him. I spoke for another 15 minutes, and it was decided that 5 of them would come to the school the next afternoon for an inspection, and if we had needs beyond the education department's capability, then they would know what to do. Thanks and expressions of happiness, and we left. In the darkness of the wilderness, 7 cars were lined up behind the house wall, and the drivers had gathered in one of them, divulging the secrets of their masters' harems to each other. We walked to the bus road. I gave the 4th grade teacher another cigarette so I could search his face for something in the matchlight, but there was nothing. What I was looking for wasn't in his face. In that meeting, they had not only wiped the teacherly expression from his face, but had also taken all the pomp from his department head physique. Nothing was left of him. Did I have the same expression too? This same listlessness? This same empty face? Yes. Why did I even go? Because I cared about those barefoot, hatless kids? What's it to me? Was I responsible for their lack of shoes and hats? What do I care about this begging? See, you fool, even if you're a school principal, you have to wrap your personality in pride in foil. Put it on the hat rack so it at least doesn't rot, or sew it into a green cloth and hang it on your chest so they don't at least poke your eye out. Even if you want to be a damn teacher. No, why beat around the bush? Even if you're a 90-toman-a-month janitor, you have to sink up to your ears in the muck. There's no peace here either. A government lackey, dirt on your head. What are you saying? On the way back, we passed piles of bricks, lime, and cement. The vanguards of the future respectable residents. I don't know if I sighed or said something that made them both notice. The disciplinarian said, "Did you see how they treated us, sir? With one of his carpets, the gentleman could buy the entire school." He wanted to make up for his own lamentations. I said, "As long as you're dealing with the ABCs, don't make comparisons. It leads to self-torment." And the 4th grade teacher said, "Even if they had insulted us, I would still be satisfied. One must be realistic. I hope they don't regret it." Then we commiserated for a while until the bus came and we got on. It turned out the 4th grade teacher had separated from his wife, and the disciplinarian's mother had been diagnosed with cancer. And then good night. I didn't go to school for 2 full days. I was too ashamed to look any of them in the face. And in those 2 days, that same Haji Aga had come with 3 of them to inspect the school and make a list. The disciplinarian said even the kids who had shoes and hats came in rags, 80 sets of shoes and clothes. From the 4th day, we let the new janitor leave early with 10 of the kids to go to Haji Aga's shop, and the next day the number of single galoshes increased. The tailor had also taken their measurements, and the clothes were supposed to be ready in 10 days. In the following days, I felt the women washing dishes by the stream on my way greeted me, and once I even heard one of them blessing me from behind. But I was so disgusted with myself that I had no desire to look at their shoes and clothes. I'd sacrificed myself for those torn canvas shoes. Yes, I had put a new polish on the bread of cultural beggary.
The next part of this story will be uploaded tomorrow. What you will hear in the next episode. Can a single misstep blur all the lines between innocence, guilt, and authority? Looking for entertainment? On this channel, we share Iranian poems, stories, and podcasts in different languages for you. If you are interested in Iranian literature, culture, and tales, this is the best place for you.